Welcome to the Speak Like a Leader podcast with John Bates. Welcome to the show. With me today is Luis Gomez Cobo, and he is an entrepreneur and an investor. He works with a number of different companies across a bunch of different industries, and he works with them as a member of the board. And Luis and I met about a year and a half ago on Necker Island, and I have gotten the chance to hear some of his stories and see his humanity and really feel how much he cares about people and the planet. And I think you're going to really enjoy our conversation today. I know we're going to cover craft beer to, I think, cement plants and everything in between. So, Luis, welcome, and thank you very much for joining me today.
Well, thank you, John, and thanks for inviting me to your show. It's amazing to hear you and see you here. Super happy to share with you, and I always enjoyed talking to you and your coaching. It's been amazing for me, and the things we've done together, I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. You're very welcome. It's been a mutual pleasure, I think. So I just want to tell you where you can find Luis, just because I like to say that early on. If you go to linkedin.com/in/Luis, LUIS dash Gomez, GOMEZ dash Cobo, COBO dash 208353. So that's Luis-Gomez-Cobo-208353. And that will bring you to Luis's LinkedIn page, and you can see a little bit more about what he does. But Luis, maybe we'll just start here if you don't mind. I think that one of the many things that you and I found we had in common was our love of really good craft beer. And I wonder if you could tell us the story of when you first found craft beer, because I think you were in a very, very special place. But I think a lot of people who like craft beer will relate and feel like it is, at very least, a metaphor for them.
Yeah, for sure, John. So, the story goes a few years back. I lived in China with my family from around 2007 to 2016. And while living there, we took a holiday. It was around 2011, 2012, and we went to Shangri-La. Shangri-La is a place in southeast China, close to the Tibetan or in the Tibetan plateau. So there about 9 to 10,000 feet above sea level, and this is this very, very special area in China, which has all this Tibetan background with the Buddhist monks, and in the middle of the snow mountains. Really special place. Yeah. And after the day trip, we went to the small downtown in this maybe a couple of thousand people town, and there was this bar. I said, hey, I'll just walk into the bar and see what would happen there. So walked in and was empty. The bartender greet me and say, hey, can I have a beer? I said, oh, yeah, beer, sure. We have very special beers here. I said, well, beer is beer, no? So the guy puts me a couple of bottles in there and said, well, have this or that beer. Show me the Shangri-La beer. Wow, Shangri-La beer. That should be interesting. So he opened the bottle and started pouring in the glass. And I just noticed, the thickness and the color of the beer. I was like, what is that, And there's the froth, this white, beautiful froth on top. It was so tasty, when I just looking at it, you could just taste it.
Yeah.
And I took the first sip and I was just impressed by the beer. I started asking, okay, what is this? And sadly, it's shameful to say, before that, the only beer I had drank in my life was industrialized beer. So everything from AB, Heineken, that's it. Sad to say it.
Yeah.
I was just impressed and told me a story. It's about this Tibetan guy who was educated, grew up and educated in Switzerland, and then came back to Tibet and put a craft beer company in Shangri-La. And
That's so.
I was just impressed by the beer. The name of the guy is Songsten Jaguar. And well, just got in love with the idea. A few months later, I contacted Songsten. We have a conversation. I was involved in a few things. Never really realized the idea of doing something with him on beer, but just the idea stuck to me. And since then, I was totally in love with the idea of getting into beer. And that's one of the things I'm involved today into a small craft brewery here in Panama that I take very seriously. Still a small project, but we're doing fantastic beer and doing really really nice things down here.
Yeah, and I've had some of that beer, and it's fabulous. And one of the guests on the show is Greg Cook, who started
Oh wow!
Stone. Yeah, so you're in good craft beer company here.
Well, we were together in Berlin in Stone Brewery. What's today's
Yeah, what?
Brewdog? Today's Brewdog. There you go. I was talking Dogfish. Brewdog. Really, really nice. No.
Yeah, it was so cool. Yeah, really cool. And the Berlin Beer Festival, we were there. That was
awesome. Exactly. That was awesome experience. That was really nice.
That was so cool that you could make it up there and meet all of us. That was just
thanks for inviting. That was great. That was great.
Super welcome. Yeah. Shout out to Stefan Kruger and the Berlin Beer Fest. So, one of the things that resonates with me quite a bit in that story is, your experience of trying something that a lot of care and craft has been put into. Somebody's really cared about the ingredients and what went into it and how it was made and the difference that makes in something as simple, so to speak, as beer. And, that's something that I think I'm seeing more in the right places. I'm seeing a lot more of that in a lot of different industries. This focus on quality instead of just mass producing cheap, yucky stuff, to actually slow down, make something really good, charge a little bit more for it, but it's, the value is there. What other places are you seeing that happen? Are there any other industries where you're seeing an analog of this?
Yeah, well, for our beer company, just step back here in Panama, it's called Cervecería Central.
Yes, Central.
Right? Yeah, Central, no? Central. Yeah. And with Central, we do have this focus, having good quality beer, first quality beer, is something that barely existed in Panama when the brewery opened here. And that attracted me to invest with them here because the brewery is just a very, very careful into the product, and putting all this love and feelings into it. It's not just a beer.
Yeah.
And you notice it when you taste the product, when you see the product, the care that's put behind it.
Yeah.
And I more than thinking about an industry in specific, I do feel that, and I agree with you, that we're seeing more and more entrepreneurs and business people looking at ways to show more of what they are in their products, in their business. And directing their business from their beliefs and their understanding of how things should be, and attaching more their life expectations there, but they want to live for the world, and putting that care and that interest into what they do. I just find that it's not as common as I wish it is, but I see it more and more, and it's something that it creates some hope in terms of what we're doing.
It's one of those things that it makes me start to think that maybe we need to start calling a movement the craft leadership movement. I feel like there's an analog between really brewing craft beer and putting that love and attention and quality into it, and then the leaders that I see that really take their leadership seriously and own who they are and who they want to be and how they come across, and really putting that same love and attention into their leadership.
So, look, for example, in company I'm a shareholder in Mexico.
Yeah.
We have two lines of business there. One is into the pig pre-starter, so the feed that you will give pigs from 0 to 70 days, the early
Uh-huh.
stage of the pigs.
Uh-huh.
And then we have a pet food company,
Uh-huh.
which we produce mostly dog food and cat food. And in that business, my partners who run the business there, they they have put, since they founded that company, and then we merged another company I had into them. This company has been running for about 25 years. And what attracted me to merge with them, and what I appreciate every single time I'm with the company or we have a board meeting, is this focus into quality and the focus into making really top end products in
Yeah.
things that, from someone that is not in the industry, say, hey, you're feeding pigs. Yeah, we're feeding pigs. and but the level of quality that it's put into that product, the level of innovation, the level of detail into what they do, they've we've been able to get today close to 70%, 70% of the pig pre-starter market in Mexico.
Wow.
And when I first met them, and I was running a similar company, and when I talked to them, I was really, really impressed by the philosophy they have as a company. And one of the philosophies is just this attention to detail and innovation and interest of just meeting the client's expectations and always surpassing that, just making it top-notch products. And then it's not just towards the client; it's towards the
Yeah.
suppliers.
Yeah.
No,
Wow. That's great.
no, and the way they treat suppliers, it's amazing. There is no arguments in many things because everything is well taken care of. And we've had several experiences of some specific ingredients, say a vitamin, that you have a global shortage of a vitamin or amino acid, and the suppliers will call you and say, you will never run out of it. Whatever you have in stock, you got it. Because there is this attention to relationship, to details, that is so important. And in many places and in many industries, people are used to be badly treated if you are the supplier. You're
Yeah.
No, it's okay. I'm paying you. You do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And the philosophy is there, and it's also the same, exactly in the same direction towards the client, the employees in the company. The
Yeah.
people that work with us, same way, it's treating them with detail, with attention to their personal needs, with interest on their individual needs, not just like a line worker. No, it's really
Yeah.
interested in what they need, what they want, and that makes a huge difference.
Oh,
And after 25 years, tell you 70% of the pig pre-starter market, and we're number one in super premium dog food, so above Royal Canin, above Proplan. In that segment, we're number
yeah.
one in Mexico. And
Wow.
and and the reason, you tell me, why is that? Well, one big reason is we did bets, no, like no one else treats them. So
Yeah.
bets love the company, bets love the product because they know that they have an excellent product, best quality that they can find. Plus, we treat them well.
Yeah.
So, and treat them well is, hey, what do you need to do your work better? What do your clients need? Do you need a smaller package, a bigger package, a better stand? What can we do for you? And that's always this attention to others' interests, and
Yeah.
that's very, very powerful in terms of leading a company.
I couldn't agree with you more, Luis. And that I say communicating with human beings is not logical; it's biological. And I am a really big proponent of bringing our humanity back to work. And I don't know where exactly it started that humanity was supposed to be something you didn't bring to work. Probably it was that what springs to mind for me as a cause for that is maybe a extremely an extremely exploitative industrial setup, I mean, if you're really exploiting your workers, then you don't want to have relationships with them. But that's just not ever gonna, I think, be as productive and as fulfilling and as rich and as fun and as successful as having a human to human relationship with your employees, with your colleagues, with your bosses, with your suppliers, your clients. That just makes life, in my opinion, vastly more fulfilling. And I think it makes people more successful. I think your story is a fabulous example of that.
Totally, totally. And look, the something I'm a fan of is uh, human consciousness. No?
Yeah.
Talking about bringing humanity into the workplace.
Yes.
And I've been involved by now probably in 12, 13 different businesses throughout the last 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And some have been successful and some haven't. And something that I admire of the also some of that have not been successful for the reasons, but for the ones that have been very successful, is that you do find that, as you say it, humanity in the way they are run,
Yeah.
and also this level of consciousness of the leaders. And think about this, no? There's two levels of consciousness. You have, the lower consciousness and the macro or higher level consciousness. Okay? So consciousness on the lower level is what you say every sentient being will have, which is they touch you, you feel, and you react to that feeling, and you may react with certain specific situations given your background, your experience, where you are. And the higher level consciousness will be the ability to think to the future and plan to the future, and the ability to draw from the past, and the ability to understand and name yourself. I am Luis. No, that's
Yeah.
something that requires a higher level consciousness. Okay, and some people may argue in a different way, but as humans, we believe that we are the only species, and perhaps our close relatives, apes or dolphins, that have a higher level consciousness. And we can say that we are the most conscious species on Earth. But sadly, if we see the track record, certainly we have behaved on the most unconscious way
Yeah.
than any
Yeah.
other human species. Given that we're able to do that, no, we've behaved very, very badly as humans, and how we treated everything, unconsciously thinking of the effect that our actions have in the future. And that's where I want to frame consciousness,
Yeah.
is on the situation, on the understanding of what my words in this interview, in this conversation, what effect has this word, the one I just said, the one I'm just saying now, what effect does that have into the future, into others, into you, into whoever is listening to this, into, what will come out of this? Will love come from this, or hate?
Yeah.
Okay? Will someone be inspired to be better boss, or a better husband, or a better father or son? Will people change a little because of what they hear? And that's
Yeah.
being conscious of what happens with what you say.
Yeah.
No? And I really think that what you say, bringing humanity to our work relationships, to the workplace, is bringing that consciousness, bringing that understanding, and really putting in front your interest into the future, and really be understanding what will happen with what I do in this business. Will
Yeah.
burning coal be different from installing solar panels? Will increasing the salary of the employees by 5% instead of 3% make a difference in someone's life?
Yeah.
Will disposing, our garbage, or waste in a responsible way, or trying to recycle 100% of it, will that make a difference?
Mm.
And that creates such an environment in the company that everybody gets much more excited and much more involved, if as a leader you're able to show that interest in what will my actions have into you
Yeah.
as a person, as a client, as a supplier, as an employee. That leadership is super powerful.
I I fully agree with you, and you're making me think of a number of things. And by the way, I just want to acknowledge that the panting in the background is my dog Flash, whom people may know or may not know, but it's not me panting. That's Flash.
John,
So
whoever knows you knows fast.
yeah, yeah, there you go. So it makes me think about my friend Peter Lacey, who is in charge of the circular economy at Accenture, and he wrote the Circular Economy Handbook. And it makes me think about how I get the feeling from conversations that I've had that there are people who think, oh, well, like it's easy for people over there, or it's easy for that guy to do that, or it's easy for this company or that woman to do that. But I think that that kind of consciousness and bringing that kind of consciousness to work and to your business and to what you're up to, and that is a choice, and doing it a little bit is better than not doing it at all, and committing to a goal and then going after it is way better than just staying with the status quo. And there's a guy who spoke at TED a number of years ago, and he was not the most dynamic speaker that I'd ever seen. He read his speech from, kind of behind a podium, which is very un-TED like. But I have to say it was one of the most inspiring speeches I've ever heard, because he had a flooring company. And when he realized the the environmental impact of flooring, which is one of the worst footprints of any business in the world, and he realized the damage he was doing to his grandchildren's planet, he committed to becoming a zero footprint company. And I think the company is Floor, Flor. And I think he has since passed, but that company is now one of the most environmentally friendly, conscious, and sustainable and green companies in the world. And, there wasn't anything particularly special about it until he stepped in and started being conscious, like you said, and brought that to work.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm not that extreme critic of the current situation in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to be more on the positive side, from the humans, not from the
Yeah.
nature and environment. But
Yeah.
I tend to be on the positive side, believing that on average, we're better off than centuries behind
Oh,
in
I
many
mean,
ways. In many ways, no?
in just about every way, except for a few really existential threats.
Exactly. But I think we're okay in that. But that doesn't mean that it cannot be much better. And
Yeah.
I'm very critical on how much we can do with what we have, uh, for the human beings. I am much more critical on how we have treated our environment and our world, because
Yeah.
I do think that will end up having an effect. And we just have this conversation hours before in the morning in the energy. I have an energy company in Mexico, or energy suppliers, and we do power generation with solar panels, everything into renewable sustainability, and we're doing the energy part, but the company is kind of built to be a sustainable business platform. So
Mm.
building anything into sustainability, and we were discussing how important it is to think of the company as a sustainable entity. And part of the discussion flew into, okay, well, you can be sustainable, or you can be profitable and not be sustainable. And so I think that's kind of like saying you're going up by going down, because
Yeah.
it's kind of the same thing. Uh, because you you have a you're saying, yes, I'm being profitable, but I'm sustainable. I'm not sustainable, but who cares? And if you're not sustainable, sooner or later, no, your company will go down, either
Yeah.
because of market forces, or because things will get so messy and you will be
Yeah.
part of it to blame.
Yeah.
And sustainability doesn't have to do only with the environment. It has to do with human relationships, with proper payment, with proper health insurance for employees, with
Mm.
all the needs, no, that are created when you run a business and all
Yeah.
the effects that your business has on others.
Yeah.
And when you think from a sustainable perspective, you can build amazing companies because, and I'm in businesses that go from energy to pet food to beer to equipment leasing, a wide variety of things. And the rule applies in all of them, and we're better in ones than in others, no? But as an aspirational idea is let's try to be as sustainable as we can and just drive the business from that perspective. And
Yeah.
there's so many opportunities when you start looking at your business with that view. Some of them are very challenging to do, equipment leasing, for example. How do you become sustainable in that industry? Well, if you're servicing the companies that clean and give maintenance to the wind turbines, well, you kind of help on it. But
Yeah.
you can think about how you drive your business into the right direction, even in industries that are needed and are really important for our human development and as what we need for economy. But every single industry has an opportunity to do it much better than where you
Yeah.
are, and you can be, in my opinion, much more profitable if you think of your business on a conscious and sustainable way. That's super important.
Yeah. I think that's fabulous. And I think it's fabulous to hear it from someone like you who has businesses in so many different realms with so many different angles and takes and views, because I just think that, to echo what you're saying, any business can do this to some degree or another, and the more they do it, the better everything is, including their bottom line and their long-term sustainability and viability. And even if it's not perfect right now, better than what it was is still better than what it was.
Yeah, and every step you take in the right direction, you're a step closer, no? So,
Yeah, yes, I totally agree. I mean, and I do think, that might be one of those things where maybe you and I mean, I'm older than you are, but maybe we're a little, we're just getting old here. But I will say that one of the big themes of my life in the last little while has been that perfection is in many ways the enemy of the good, because I think that we have a tendency as human beings to think if it can't be perfect, then screw it. And that's not nearly as good as, okay, I'm just going to do it as well as I can and then do it better and better and better, and maybe it'll never be perfect, but it'll be better than it was, right?
no, certainly. I personally, I think I came to a realization of the importance that it has, the issues with sustainability and consciousness, not so many years ago, say
What
5,
was the
maybe
story?
8 years.
What happened?
I think it's been more of a path than a specific event.
Uh
No?
huh.
It's just, I'd say, maturing and growing up as an individual and as a business person. I could not pinpoint on a specific event. It's a series of events.
Mm-hmm.
Also, being a father, I think, makes you start to wonder, okay, what I'm doing here.
It
It's a
certainly.
series of events. Certainly, that's one of them, and a very important one. But at a point, I was getting, I think, a bit depressed and saying, "My God, I'm in businesses that are zero sustainable." At the point, I was involved in a slaughterhouse, a meat slaughterhouse. Uh, I had the company, animal feed company, an equipment leasing company, and I say I'm the worst person on the planet because I'm running this, and I don't want to shut them because that's my living. No, my family lives of this, and my future depends on these businesses. And it's not that I can sell them tomorrow and cash in and then start up something again, and maybe that doesn't work as well. And this is running really well, and so you start with all these worries, no? And
Yeah.
at a point, what brought me peace was this realization that this is a path in the same way, no?
Yeah.
And we are where we are, but we can have an aspirational view of where we want to be, no? And we
Mm-hmm.
can have it very clearly. And then it doesn't have you don't have to sell the farm and do something else. No, you can actually use what you have and build upon that and transform it and improve it. And as you improve it, probably some others in the same industry that feel that they don't have the opportunity to do it because they're in that industry may come up with ideas that are good for you, or you can give them some other ideas, and then you start to impact the industry itself and
Yeah.
and your employees and your people. And again, it's not just about the environment that you impact directly,
Yeah.
but if you tell me one thing that I think everybody should really impact is this sense of consciousness with the effects I have. If you start behaving like that in your everyday, in your board meetings, in your meetings, in your purchases with your suppliers, anything that you do, really trying to see what will happen with this to you as I do it. No?
Yeah.
And what will happen to your grandchildren as I do this. No?
Yeah.
Then certainly businesses will change and will behave better, and you will be closer to that aspiration. No?
Yeah.
Just before the podcast, I was telling you about the website that I'm trying to put for the family holding investment company,
Uh-huh.
and it's full of aspirational quotes.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure some people that may read that know me from business or from the companies may read and say, well, your company is not exactly like that. I know you want to say exactly, I want to. No? So I say
Yeah.
it because I want to put it out there, and I want to be aspirational and inspirational to what we want to do. And that
Yeah.
makes a huge difference, starting from the way I behave,
Yeah.
and hopefully works.
I mean, it's fabulous. And, I will cop to the fact that the teenager inside of me, the idealistic teenager that I used to be, would probably hear what you just said and just say, "Oh man, that's a total cop out," like rah rah rah. But I remember when I was younger and less interested in what would work and just more interested in the purely romantic side of things. And there were a number of internet businesses that I was a founder of, or an early stage employee of, and we kind of said, yeah, we're just going to ride out of the hills and storm the castle and change the way everything is. And we rode down out of the hills, and man, those castle walls kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And when we finally got to the bottom of the castle walls, like we were the size of ants and just got stomped on and were gone, and didn't make any difference, even though we were so romantic about it. And my realization over my lifetime has been that I think that one of the most powerful places to affect change is from within. So if you're already in an industry and you can change it like the floor guy did, or like you are, that I think is where you actually get the significant, statistically significant change. Like the numbers are big enough that they matter, versus just yelling at something from outside and throwing little pebbles and having them bounce off.
Yeah, I'm super hopeful about where we are heading, as humanity,
Yeah.
and I've gone from a negative perspective about it to a very positive one. Okay,
Yeah.
and the reason for this is that I do believe that human beings can do amazing things. I believe in the power of our creativity, in the level of consciousness that is coming to the world. No, people that you
Yeah.
and I know, and that they are so aware of how they want to live the world, what they want to do. I see, the what my kids, so my three kids, what they're getting from school, nothing to do with what I was getting in terms of understanding and about the environment and about the impact that their actions have and health, and it's just so different and so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
And certainly not everybody has that access, but there is more and more people that are heading into that direction, and more you turn on the TV and you see these messages bombarding. And I think what changed in the last few years, and that has been very important, is that the large companies, they've realized that they have to do it for a moral reason, but also it's a good business.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and
so it's
that's the ultimate best thing, I think, is a good
oh,
business that is ethical and sustainable and, leaves positive social impact. Like that's my favorite thing in the world because I just
yeah.
think business is so powerful. And when you channel it and harness it for good, that's awesome.
I think whoever is not doing it will not be in business very soon
I think you're right. I think you're right. I
because
mean, I agree.
it's, it's just this kind of thing that, yeah, you may have an angle for a niche, but in terms of really making a successful, good industry, and the social pressure is going to build up at such speed.
Right.
Kids that have been educated with this mindset, they are now 15, 18 years old. No? The 20 somethings, the millennials, they are getting there, but still not there. Next
Mm-hmm.
generations, they are growing up with this kind of feeling. They're seeing these documentaries that tell them the world that your parents are living to you is shit. Sorry for the word, but it's
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah.
So they are in such awareness that they will have a very strong push, if not with their actions, with their wallet. Where
Yeah.
do they want to spend their
Oh,
money?
yeah.
Which companies they want to support? Which sites they want to visit? Which apps they want to download? And
Yeah.
I think that will be, and that's what makes me hopeful that the tide, the wave that's coming in that direction is massive.
Yeah.
And when that works, a lot of creativity happens and a lot of money flows in that direction. And when that comes together, we can really make amazing things. And I'm very hopeful that by the time I'm very, very, very old, we're gonna be seeing a very different scenario.
Yeah. Boy, I'm with you on that. I certainly hope so. And I think there's a very good chance of that. I, it's funny because one of the things that you remind me of is a guy that I listen to whom I really respect. It takes deep listening to him. Like people who listen to him superficially don't understand. He's more subtle. It's why I like the podcast format. But his name's Sam Harris, and he's a TED speaker, has a fabulous meditation app, and he has a podcast called Making Sense. And he was saying that the pandemic was teaching him that, we're just never going to solve global warming the way that we're doing it. Like to think that because it is the morally correct thing to do, or that we ought to do it, or that it threatens our grandkids, that's just not going to be enough of a catalyst. We need to have products that actually make it so that we need to have electric cars that are affordable and better than gas cars. And part of me, he was saying that in a little bit of a depressed kind of way, and like it was kind of like, oh my gosh, what a bummer. But on the other hand, like that would be pretty awesome, and if we could do that, that would work. And I do think that hearing what you're saying and thinking about the young people that are coming into the workforce and that are progressing up in the workforce, I think that, and seeing the impact on already existing businesses from Walmart to Floor, the carpeting company I mentioned, and your companies, I think that could actually end up just being a really great vision versus kind of a bummer. Like it's that's actually cool. Let's do it.
Think about this, John. For the last 6, 8 months now, we many, many kids around the world, the lucky ones certainly, have been taking online schooling.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are kids that go from 4 to 5 year old kids, no, to college and master degree students. Okay, and they are able to take a 25 kid class, 30 kid class, online lessons with a teacher, and they're learning, and it's giving results in many ways. You may argue it's better or worse, but something that I think they are learning and that has a huge impact is that they're learning that to have an effective meeting, they don't need to get on a car. They don't need to get on a plane. They can just sit in their office or in the house and do it. Personally,
Yep.
I used to have a travel schedule of a week a month. or a week every 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I live in Panama, Central America, and I would get in a plane and go to the US, go to Mexico, go to Peru, go to Europe, and move around, go to Asia. And I would be traveling frequently. I think this year that my last plane I took was in early March. I think I've been much more effective
Yeah, it's
in
pretty
every
interesting, isn't it?
sense. And every
Yeah.
person I talk with, the only point is creating a new large client. That may be the tipping point where
Mm-hmm.
you need that personal in-person touch.
Yeah.
But for the ongoing business and for the ongoing relationships, probably I'm really rethinking my travel schedule and
Yeah.
how many carbon emissions I'm saving, how many resources from everything I'm saving
Yeah.
just by having online meetings. I'm rethinking. Probably I can travel every quarter once, or perhaps 3 times per year. Just do a round and done.
Yeah.
And I think that will cut my travel by at least half. And I think a lot of companies are questioning this, and not good for the airlines, but for the environment, for the use of resources, the use of time.
Yeah.
And then what do we do with that money? No?
Yeah.
Talking about pet food, you see an increase in sales of pet food. And why is it? Well, because people were not traveling. They didn't go to the movies. They didn't go to the restaurants. So the money is directed to other expenditures. And
Yeah.
if that money is better used in other things, it can actually be good. People can
Yeah.
save in one thing and actually build assets, perhaps, paying their mortgages or other things. So
Yeah.
these changes that we're having have an effect that if this pandemic would have been a short period of time, well, probably would be a memory. But now, by this period, 8 months, and probably it'll go easily to a year over different circumstances, that will have an effect on the way we behave. We will reverse to the mean in many ways, as it happens with everything. No, you
Yeah.
lose weight, you gain weight, and it's always reversing to the mean. But many things that we're learning here will make us ask different questions on what we have and how we behave in the future in many, many
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And Luis, I work with a number of people in China and Europe, and one of the things that I've heard from one of the gentlemen I support in China is that once they had basically controlled the virus and things went back to normal, people were going back on the things that they had decided like that, right? Like people were like, he heard people saying, "Oh, I'm going to travel a lot less and I'm not going to do it." And then they reverted back to the mean even in their travel. And I think that what you're saying is really right on. And I think that I've just been kind of warning people, hey, if there are things that you really like out of this, if there are silver linings you've been finding in what is obviously a devastating time, hang on to those silver linings. Remind yourself, set yourself a reminder 6 months from now to check in about this, or a year from now to check in about this, so that we do take those things that we think are good and worthwhile forward with us into the future, even when we don't have to anymore. Because I think that what you're saying is something that I think many of us feel, and and agree with you on. And I just want to, put the pin in it to keep a reminder for ourselves of this.
No, totally. We need to stay aware, of our reactions after this.
Yeah. Stay calm.
And yeah, this is certainly something that nobody uh, who who has love as a center of how they act would like to have, this pandemic and a lot of suffering that we've
Yeah.
seen in many different ways. No,
Yeah.
but I do think that the outcome on the positive side of it, of what we're seeing, is good. It's going to be
Yeah.
good in ways. We'll have different challenges for sure. Uh, Hopefully, we don't have too many people abusing of desperation on the political side.
Yeah.
But I think we will have a more, going back to my favorite word, a more conscious world of how we live, no?
Yeah.
And the impact that we have, and how something that happens. Now imagine this, no? A guy goes to a supermarket, to a wet market in China, no? And buys a pangolin or a bat or whatever animal you think, and has it for dinner, and he gets sick. No, a few months later, the president of the United States gets sick.
Yeah.
Because of him eating a bat.
Yeah.
Okay, how connected are we? No?
So
how connected are we? No. So again, being conscious of your effect, better don't eat that bat, no? But being conscious that whatever you do, it will have some effect, smaller or bigger, but it has something forward. And I really hope that as humans we will become a bit more conscious of that.
Yeah, boy, I'm with you. I just couldn't agree more. And I think that we're in an age increasingly where we are far more dependent on each other. We're far more interconnected because of just the speed and volume of travel. And the other thing that I've been thinking about a lot is the fact that this rapid moving of technology is empowering smaller and smaller groups with better and better technology and more ability. Like coming down to the individual level, the amount of power that any individual has, they now can broadcast all over the world. They can create pamphlets in 5 minutes with their computer and then distribute those physically or around the world. And the tech, even go to the extreme of nuclear technology, like it becomes easier and easier over time. And all of these things. And so I think that as that happens, we all need to take more and more individual responsibility. When you start thinking about what we do about the fact that any one person can do almost anything, there will be a time, if we're not there yet. And so, consciousness and realizing our dependence on each other and taking care of the people that are in the worst situations, those things just become more and more and more logical and obvious, I think.
Yeah. Yes. If you think about, for example, social media.
Yeah.
Social media, you post something, and once it's posted, it's out there. And you may get 2 replies like I do. I don't have many followers. But maybe one of those guys is something really popular and he reposts whatever I did. And then it's out there. Yeah. And it may damage someone's life because I said it.
Yeah.
And it's just, as you say, technology enables so much more for some individuals somewhere to have an impact.
Yeah.
In a very, very, very powerful way. No? It's important. If you think of, the world citizen, no? Citizen, you're a citizen, no? So if I ask you, you say, yeah, I'm a U.S. citizen, no? That's what you will say normally, no? Or rather, I'm a French citizen or I'm a Mexican citizen. So that kind of, it's a little bit limited how it goes, no?
Yeah.
But then if you add another word and you change that and you say, let's be world citizen. So with
that's
that,
what I call myself. Yeah.
That's as it should be. So with that, what you have is a much more connected citizenship, no? And you say, hey, it's not that you're American and I'm Mexican and there is another guy who's French. No, we're world citizens, and then our problems start to be much more our problems. No?
Yeah.
And if you add an additional word to that description of an individual and call him a conscious world citizen, as a conscious world citizen, then it's really, really powerful, because what are you? It's not that you're a citizen, it's not that you're a world citizen, you're a conscious world citizen. Yeah. And that means you care for the world and you care as a citizen for you and for others. And that it's super powerful just to get people ingrained in that direction.
Yeah.
When they post it on social media. It's just there.
Yeah. boy, like conscious posting by, social media posting by conscious world citizens, I think would be a really fabulous thing to just have take over the world. I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw it,
yeah.
but
Hopefully we get there. There's a guy that wrote a book that I would highly recommend. Very simple book. It's called Conscious World Citizens
uh,
by a philosopher called Richard Bowell. It's
oh,
really interesting. It's aligning all the individuals with the interest of the United Nations, the 17 development goals, and how you can align yourself for that. Really good
yeah,
one. Uh, Very philosophical in some way, but
yeah,
it's worth having it as a reference on how to act and
that,
how to think. It's pretty good one.
that's cool. That's great. Conscious world citizen, and and that's a book too, not just
That's a book. It's a
a
book.
good
Yeah,
way of doing
the author is called Richard Bowell. Bowell.
great.
Bowell. Sorry for that.
Yeah, that's good. I think we'll find it. I'll try and get that in the show notes. Um,
Yeah.
so Luis, is there any like leadership story that you think about on a regular basis or that really made a big difference for you? I mean, you've already shared a number of them, but is there any one more that you'd like to send us out with, or that
I'm
comes
gonna
up when I ask you about
I'm
that?
gonna tell you one that's used very, very, very frequently. But because of the recent events now with the Black Lives Matters protest in the U.S. and a few things, I've been discussing that with my daughter. So this is the Martin Luther King "I Have a Dream" speech,
Yeah.
and it's many things that you can derive out of that leadership story.
Mm,
But what I was telling my daughter, she was writing a small kind of TEDx style a presentation for her school, and she delivered it online. Uh, and I was telling her, look at this guy, no? And we saw the 1963 speech, no, delivered
uh-huh.
in Lincoln Memorial, and I told her, look at this guy. What do you see? He's different from all the rest. There is hundreds of thousands of people in that plaza, and he's the only one speaking, no. And why are people so interested in what he's saying? And there's many different opinions about that, but I'll give you mine. And what I told
Yeah.
my daughter, well, I see two things, no? And the first one is that he's really, really speaking truth, no?
Yeah.
Speaking truth. What he's saying is real. And second is he's saying it from his heart.
Mm,
No? It's a very well written speech, and there is a lot of thinking behind it, but he delivers it. And when you hear him, you hear he's really talking about his four kids.
yeah.
And he's really talking about what he wants for them. And he's really thinking of them not today, but in the future,
Yeah.
and projecting that. And that vision, that ability to speak your feelings, to bring your humanity into whatever you do, that's super strong. And
Yeah.
very, very few leaders really have it. Being very simple if you think about it.
Yeah.
But it's not that simple, because very few people know he is the only one speaking in hundred thousands of people, and why? Because it's not easy, but it's super powerful. So just really naked. We say this: having your heart naked, just showing what you believe, what you think, and not being afraid of showing it, and believing that that will convey to others the same feelings and the same inspiration. That's, for me, that's super, super powerful in what
Yeah.
you can do with that.
Oh my gosh, that's so perfect, Luis. And the one thing that I might say is that you know he's one of the very few that does that. You said most leaders don't have that. I might refine that and say I think all leaders have that possibility, but it's just so scary, and it's so revealing and vulnerable and all the other stuff that I think you're absolutely right. Most leaders don't bring that. I think they could, and I think that that's such a perfect thing to sort of bookend how we started, but that leadership that comes from the heart. And he's really just speaking truth from the heart. It's just great. It's so great. And I really think we all could do it if we were brave enough, right?
Imagine if we had many people doing that at the same time. How
Yeah.
powerful would that be, no?
Yeah.
No? Imagine we were able to have a nation's Congress speaking from the heart and not from their agendas.
Yeah.
It'd be so powerful, no?
Well, and Luis, I think that you do it. I know that I do my best to do it. And I think a lot of the people that are listening to us now are people that do this to a more or less degree. And I just want to challenge all of us, me especially included, because I'm the one who's opening my mouth to it. But I challenge all of us to do that more. Bring our humanity to work, bring our consciousness to work, speak our hearts at work and everywhere.
No, let's join the movement, John.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, I'm in, at least the two of us are in the movement.
Let's do that.
Join us.
Let's get there.
Sounds awesome. So, Luis, thank you so much for joining us. I know we went a little over here. Thank you for your generosity with your time and your stories and for talking with me. And I will look forward to talking with you again soon. And it was just really, really great to be able to share you with my friends and the people that I do this for. So is there anything else that you want to say to just
thank you for inviting me to your show. I know you have very important speakers here, so I feel honored. And whoever reached this point of the show, congratulations. It's not easy to listen to me for so long. I really appreciate it. And I'll look forward to see you somewhere in the world in the near future.
Sounds great, Luis. Sounds great. Thank you. Thank you for joining the Speak Like a Leader podcast. Go be awesome.